Hold on, we about to change the subject. Ain't talking about the same thing, that's redundant. A place where you could be yourself, we keep it 100. On pace to change the world, we ain't nearly done yet. It's table talk with Tosh. Even if we disagree, just know I'm on your side. You know you got a friend of me, let's sit down on my pod. We don't need no referee, you already know the vibe. That table talk with Tosh. It's table talk with Tosh. Even if we disagree, you know I'm on your side. You know you got a friend of me, let's sit down on my pod. We don't need no referee, you already know the vibe. That table talk with Tosh. Table talk with Tosh. That table talk.
Keeping the party going all night long.
The hottest hip hop and R&B. This is a summer party station.
It's Philly Jams.
So we are live in the building. 95 Philly Jams 95.3. This is your girl Table Talk with Tosh, and I have special guests in the building, the Hubster.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight?
You're on your best behavior because I know you.
I'm
So tonight we are talking. Well, let me just go back. So it's been about 6 years or so since I've been on the podcast. Life was lifing, and in that time, I was commuting from Delaware to DC every day. That's a 2.5-hour commute. Children of the corn, just life. And so in that time, I went back to school, got my degree in clinical mental health counseling. So I am a therapist now in addition to my full-time gig. So I wanted to bring this podcast to the forefront so that we can help educate our community about mental health and all things falling under that. We know that when our life is in the way sometimes, mental health can be a challenge. But my personal goal, is to bring more awareness to the field of mental health so that we can get the help that we need. We have a lot of trauma that we've endured as young people. And then we grow up, and then we end up bringing that trauma to our relationships. So that was the purpose of repurposing Table Talk with Tosh. So it's going to be everything it used to be, but just even better. And now we are live. We're in a studio. And so tonight, the topic is shooting your shot. So a lot of you who follow me on Facebook, because that's mostly where I live, not necessarily Instagram. I'm trying to do better. But a lot of you do know my story and how I met the Hubster. But I want to hear it from him because, he's kind of incognito a lot. So I show him here and there. One of my cousins, we went to an event at her house, and she was like, "Oh, he's real? I didn't think he was a real person," because he's not really spotlighted on my social media that way. And that was, by design. But anyway, I'm turning it over to the Hubster, who you all know, and I'm asking him to be on his best behavior because a lot of you know him when he finally made his debut with the Merry Christmas message. But I'm turning over to him and asking him, tell the people how we met, tell them our love story, et cetera, et cetera. Take it away.
Okay. We actually met through a co-worker of mine. I didn't know her, and she inquired about me through one of the people that I work with. And at the time, she was having like these singles parties, and she invited me to them, and I never showed up because I had a situation. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about.
He was in a situationship.
I was in a situationship. And so, with that being said, I think the end of 2007, I was on my way to work, and I was carpooling with a friend of mine. And I said to him, you know what, man, I'm done. I'm erasing all these numbers. I'm starting over fresh. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I never called her.
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 Me.
Table Talk with Tosh. And so I called her and left a message. I didn't hear back from her, and I was like, wow, okay.
That's not how it works.
That's not?
No.
What I'm missing?
So it was, women have more details. So it was December 31st, 2007.
I said New Year's Eve.
You said the end of December. That's fine. No, what you said was you left a message and you didn't hear. That's not accurate.
You didn't.
You sent a text message at 10:10 p.m.
I had to be to work.
And he said, Happy New Year, my former name. And so, my former maiden name. And so at that point, Well, let me back up. Earlier that night, I was getting dressed to go to this party at my cousin's house over in Jersey, and one of those eHarmony commercials came on, and it said, "Maybe this year will be your year for love." And I remember walking out of the bathroom. Well, I was walking to the bathroom, and I leaned back, looking at the TV, and I said, "Maybe it will." And so fast forward, when I get to my cousin's house, that's when you texted and said, "Happy New Year, Natasha," whatever. And so I said, like, I started to say, because I have a personality, for those who know me, I started to say, "Who dis?" D-I-S. And then I was like, no, I'm professional, might be somebody important. So I was like,
And it was.
it was. And so instead of saying, "Who dis?" D-I-S, I just said, "Thank you. To whom am I speaking?" Something like that. And then that's when he didn't respond.
I had to go to work.
I didn't know that. So, but the other story
But
part of
that's
that.
what I was,
Hold on, but can I just tell it before you go?
I thought, okay,
Hold on.
what I was telling us.
You are, but I just wanted to just fill in the gaps.
Okay.
The other part of that story is that night when he before he sent the text earlier that day around 4:00, my phone was glitching out, and I almost left my phone at AT&T. And then I was like,
Android.
it is. And then I was like, no, I can't leave my phone. So then I'm gonna turn it back over to you. I'm gonna shut up now.
Well, you told the story.
No,
now.
I didn't. I turned it back over. I said you didn't text me. So then what happened?
What did happen? Okay, so yeah, I think the next day we spoke.
Mm-mm. See?
What happened?
See, now you say I want to tell the story.
I'm
So
tired.
anywho, back to I'll tell the story. So what happened was the next day, so he sent the text, said, "Hello." I said, "Who is this?" Oh, and that's when he said, "It's his name." And I was like,
The future hubster.
right. I was like, "Oh my gosh, he texted me." So I was all excited. So then I was just like, I had to play cool. So I was like, okay. So I said, "Wow." And I actually contemplated. I was like, should I say capital W-O-W, or should I just do a lowercase W-O-W? So I just did the lowercase because I didn't want him to think I was saying like, wow. So I said, wow.
And that's how I took it. I took it like, what does this mean? I said, I think this is bad.
Right.
She's like, it's like, wow. Like, and there's nothing else, no exclamation mark, nothing, just wow.
Wow, right.
Yeah, I think she might be upset.
So then I figured that he was figuring that. So what I did was I took a picture. I sent him a picture of a Halloween party that I had gone to a few months, and I had a big afro and I had like red sunglasses on, and I just said,
I was like, this is not the girl, and I'm kidding.
and I was like, Tosh, doing her, getting her 70s swag on or something like that, and then that's when he responded.
And yeah, and
I had to nudge him.
we started talking, and as they say, the rest is history. We talked for like all day. I think I was going to see my parents, and we talked all the way to my parents' house, and
It was like 2 hours.
yeah, which was like 2 hours, and it just took off from there.
And yes, it took off from there. And then that was in December.
That was January. Now,
Well, now
that
we-
was New Year's Eve. So.
Whatever. That was January 1st at that point. And then fast forward to Phoenix, our first official date.
Yeah, our first date was actually across country. I flew out to.
I flew them out.
Yeah, you know what you did?
Well, I didn't pay for your ticket though.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah,
did.
you flew yourself
I
out
flew myself out
to Phoenix.
to Phoenix. It was working out there.
I was
And,
on an in-service.
Yeah, and we got out there and we talked about life, marriage, family, kids.
And we shook on one child out there.
We did not shake on one child.
Now all this
You
time
said-
I've been
you
telling
said-
this
you said-
story,
hold
and
on.
I got it right.
You said, this is what you said. You said, I have one child
Because I was
And
already
I
married
don't
from a previous
want-
relationship.
anymore. And I said, hey.
Yeah, I was like, if
I'm cool with that. I didn't have any children at the time.
anybody who knows me knows that if I met a guy and he had children, I was like, okay, we can talk. If you didn't have children, I was like, peace out. I don't want any more children. I'm one and done. No, thank you. So I met him, and he has no children.
And I was cool.
And but he said, and I thought, because ladies, we know how men are, right? So I was like, he's gonna get to an age where, like, I'm 38, because I was like 34 at the time, And I was like, he's going to want a child, and I'm not trying to be pushing out no child at no 40 years old. So let me go ahead, and I can at least agree to one more. Just one. So we were at Fuddruckers. We went to Fuddruckers.
Yeah.
And we agreed. Well, no, we went to the little bar or whatever, and we agreed. We actually said at that time we were going to get married, and we were going to have one child. One.
That conversation actually came up later.
No, that was that night. You were probably tired or whatever. You don't remember, but that's what happened. We shook on it. We shook on it for one because I was like, I can agree to one, and you was like, okay, cool, and that was that. So now fast forward to then at that point. Okay, tell the ladies. I really want you to tell the ladies what I said to you about dating. Since I was divorced, I had a child. Tell them what I told you and what made you kind of.
As far as.
Remember when I told you I'm not into, and that made you kind of like know that I was serious.
Yeah, while we were out there, a lot of people won't believe it, but we actually shared a room, separate beds, and she told me that, hey, there's no humping around.
I didn't say it nicely. I said it very graphically.
She used some profanity.
I did, because I wanted to emphasize that I was not.
And I was appalled.
I wasn't. What do we call him? I wasn't an F girl. You said what?
I said such language from such a pristine lady, and but no, it got the point across, and I had when she said that, I was like, hey, okay, cool, because I need somewhere to stay while I'm out here, so I'm not gonna trip. I was staying in her room, so it worked out. But no, I think that once you said that and you stood on it, that was I had a lot of respect for that. So.
But then it didn't kind of work out that way after.
No, we got married, we had a family.
No, not that. But anyway, we're going to fast forward past that part. But tell them, when did I tell you that I loved you? Or when did we say that?
While we were out there in Phoenix.
Right. And okay, so people be like, oh, this is bold, this is unrealistic. Like, what made you, and I know from my perspective, I'm trying to hear from you since you're the guest here, what made it believable, or like what made it, how did you know that I was the one?
I don't think when people say the one, I think, obviously you were.
I thought I thought you were the one.
Yeah, when you said it, it was like, you said, wow, I love you, and you said it, and I was like, wow, I'm feeling the same way, and then I said it. And I didn't say it just simply because you said it, I was feeling the same thing, and I'm like, wow, like I can see myself being with this lady the rest of my life. And, so far, so good.
Maybe so far.
Things change.
Whatever. But no, and that was in December. Well, it was January. And then when did we get married? Tell the people when we got married.
Approximately 1 year later.
No, it wasn't. We got married in September. How's that approximately 1 year later?
Approximately it means not exact, right? I thought.
I would think that's like 11 months. But anywho, we dated for 8 months.
That's more like nearly.
Anywho, why did we get married so quickly? Because we weren't pregnant, nothing like that. Why did we get married? Why did we make the commitment to like not even accelerate, but accelerate that process?
I wouldn't call it accelerate.
Or just, because some people will date for 2-3 years, whatever.
I think we just connected. We were all on the same page. We saw things the same way. We had a lot of the same perspectives on life and family and marriage. We connected. And at that point in time, neither one of us were very, very young. We were in our late 30s.
We were long in the tooth.
Yeah, and we decided to move forward with getting married and making a commitment to each other.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But yeah, so I want to bring on our next guest, our guest, I should say. But before we do, can you just tell people about, like, I had this outfit all planned out, ladies. I had my jewelry on, had this blouse I wanted to wear. Can you just tell people, and I'm saying this because it says something about our relationship too. Go ahead.
Yeah, she had, like she said, she had something planned out to wear, and I'm basically just getting off work, so I was like, look, I'm tired. I'm just gonna throw on a hoodie, and
I was like, a hoodie.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Money Moves Clothing. It's my little cousin. You see that right there. I see you.
I see.
He's down at Morgan State, getting that education. If you like it, Show them some love.
And it's website
I said that. Big Money Moves Clothing.
.com or just
.us.
Oh, .us. Okay,
If
so
you Google it, you'll see it'll come up.
Big Money Moves. And then when he said he was wearing his sweatshirt or hoodie, at first I was like, "Come on now, really step your game up."
Inspired her.
But I was like, you know what? Let's be intentional about this, because I did have a little attitude at first, but I think that's also that's why I wanted you to share that story, because it's like we're mature. We don't hold on to a lot of stuff. We get angry with each other, and you work my last good nerve sometimes. I know I don't do that for you, because there's Jesus and then there's me right under there. I don't get on nobody's nerve. But for me, I'm wearing, I choose to stay, and this is Principal L. He's in Wilmington, Delaware. He's a phenomenal principal. I've been in Florida, and I've been in, where else did we go somewhere? Oh, I went to my son's school, and each time I've had, the shirt, I have a couple of shirts of his, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, Principal L's the bomb. He's awesome. He's amazing." So I was like, let's be intentional then. So I wanted to rock Principal L's shirt, or his sweatshirt, his hoodie, because I wanted to also kind of give back to what we're doing here. So shout out to Principal L. Check him out. He has a chess club for kids in the hood in Wilmington. He's internationally known. Like I said, I've been all over. Actually, we were coming back from, I think, Mexico, and some lady stopped me, and so
We both had it on.
yeah, because this is his.
A lot of
lot of love.
people there.
So we wanted to kind of give that back. But we're gonna. Do we need to go to a commercial, Tosh? Tosh, do we need to go to commercial? All right, so we're gonna go to commercial, and then we'll be back, and we'll bring on our guests for this evening, and they're gonna also talk about shooting their shot and how they met and all that stuff, and their beautiful love story. So be back in a moment.
We've got something to share. We're really proud of our product and are excited to make it available on our website. Check it out now. We've got something to share. We're really proud of our product and are excited to make it available on our website. Check it out now.
Aw. So we are back in the building. We're going to bring on our guest right now, Elizabeth, Elizabeth Content. I know I'm butchering that up, but I wanted to bring them on because I actually saw Elizabeth's love story on Instagram. My daughter, shout out to Buka Couture. I would have rocked your sweatshirt, but you know how you do. But I saw them on their beautiful love story on Instagram that Courtney sent to me, Buka. And I was like, oh my goodness, their love story is reminiscent of ours. And so I wanted to bring them on just to show people out there that love does exist, that good relationships exist. And so that's why I wanted to especially bring them on. So welcome to the table.
All right.
How y'all doing?
Okay.
We're doing great.
Doing great. Doing great.
Good to see you.
So you've heard our story. So please educate the listeners about your story and tell them, how you all met and shooting your shot and what that means to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you go first.
No, baby, you go. You tell the story.
Okay. Very simple. I was out shopping one day, worked up a little bit of an appetite, decided to go to Ocean Prime, one of my favorite restaurants here where we live. And I took a seat at the bar this day. Directly sitting across from me was this handsome man.
Shout out to the brothers.
And don't do that. And I was really nervous, but I had never seen him before, and I just couldn't really pass up the opportunity to get to know him more. So after I initially walked outside of the restaurant, I retrieved my car from valet, and I called my friend and I said, "Hey, there's this man at the bar. I've never seen him before. He's extremely handsome. I feel, connected to him." And she told me to walk back in there and speak to him. And so I did half of that. Instead of speaking to him, I left my name on a sheet of paper because I do believe that men should initiate things.
Yeah.
So I left him a sheet of paper with my name and number, and I walked away.
So with me, so my side, prior to getting to the restaurant, so one of my boys, my frat, wanted to go out, right? And I'm sitting at the house chilling, whatever, and I planned not to. I was, I had um, my fried chicken on Fridays. I was gonna chill at the house. So anyway, we hooked up and we said, all right, we'll go to Ocean's Prime. And I arrived a little, well, on time, which was early for him, right? So I started walking around the restaurant, and there's this restaurant has a indoor bar side and then a out kind of like a patio outdoor. But there's a doorway that the bartenders go back and forth. So that's the doorway that Elizabeth was talking about. So I went on the outside looking for him. He wasn't there, but I did see Elizabeth. And I was like, wow, so it's an attractive sister right there, right? But I didn't make a pass or anything like that. So I came.
Why? Why didn't you?
I didn't make a pass because you were with another guy that I thought you were with another guy because he was sitting next to you in your space.
Yeah.
All right. So I said, well, I'm not going to, obviously go and disrespect, anything like that. So I went back and sat inside, the inside portion so I can see, him coming in. So we sat there and we just talking and whatever, having a good time. And then fast forward, we saw Elizabeth and this guy leave. Now he was walking ahead of her at a pretty fast pace. I mean, fast pace. And so we were like, wow, there she is, right? And so we saw her, and then she went down the hall, and fellas, we as soon as she turned her back, we were like,
Oh God.
yeah, that's all right there. You know what I
Really?
mean? So, but that was it. So we went back talking and whatnot, and I guess about 5 or 6 minutes later, I got a tap on my shoulder, right? And I turned around and she said, this is for you. Um, and then she left. And so I was shocked, surprised, and happy at the same time, and excited. And so I took now there was a piece of paper, so I didn't put it in my pocket right away. I took a picture of it in case I lose that piece of paper, right? So I
So
took a
cute.
picture and whatever, and so apparently she went out with her friends to a different part of town in Tampa, and he and I went to a different area in Tampa, and it was just turned out to be a late night. So when I got back, I didn't call her then, but I called her the next day. Well, I texted her. I reached out and I texted her, and I said, hey, my name is Julius. We briefly met at Ocean's Prime. I want to follow up, yada yada. And then she responded, and now you got to know. Well, I do have a nerdy side of me, right? So I'm not to want to have that real talkative in the beginning. So I was like, let's just, I'd rather talk face to face and not on on the phone. So I immediately just asked her if she would be willing to meet, have a date with me. And that way we get to know each other better on a conversation. So she agreed. And then the next day we went out on a date. I met her at a restaurant in Tampa. Of course, it was a different one that was closer to where she lived because out of respect, in the text message, I asked her when she said yes, she'll go out. I asked her, well, what area do you live so I could have a place that's closer to her because Tampa's a little spread out a little bit, and so that's why we ended up at the restaurant where we ended up, and it turned out to be a really great conversation, and she looked sexy coming in the restaurant, and hey, it was great.
Like that's
Yeah,
it. She's the one. Did you know?
yeah.
That's a question. Did you know she was the one, or like what were your thoughts? Let me ask you that way.
Well, my thoughts were, I didn't know she was the one, at
My
the time.
turn.
Okay.
He didn't know. He
No.
didn't know I was the one.
Okay.
In fact, he didn't think that we would have a second date.
Hmm. Do
Yeah,
tell.
yeah,
Yeah, because he thought that, sorry, babe. He
yeah.
thought that we, I might have been too young.
Oh, so is there an age difference there?
Yeah, there's an age difference.
Oh, okay. I guess y'all want to share the secret.
Well, yeah, so
Is it
it
different?
was,
Because you know,
I
crack
did
jokes.
ask the
I can
question,
tell.
huh?
I
Well,
said them
you
cracks. I
open
can't
up the
tell.
can, so you might as well go ahead.
Well, there's an age difference, certainly.
Now we want to
And,
know.
but, oh, you want to know the age
Like, what's
difference?
you don't have to tell us your ages, but what's the
Number. What's the
yeah?
number?
What's the number? What's the
Ooh,
difference?
the gap? What is the
Yeah.
20.
gap? 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I know. You know,
Y'all look like y'all like around the same
I
age.
know, and I'm not. That's not a diss to
No,
either.
yeah, neither one. Yeah,
Right, but
y'all look like
wow, I can't.
yeah,
I
y'all
would have
look
never
great.
known.
Y'all look
Nobody
great.
keep that to yourself then, because nobody would have
I would
known.
have never known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
think you pulled out your ID
Go ahead,
because I
Julius,
couldn't
with the
believe it.
fountain of youth, drinking the fountain of youth.
Yeah. What you
We
drinking?
did, in fact, drink the fountain of youth.
Yeah, we did eventually.
We went.
Eventually. So yeah, right. So it was like it was a 20-year difference, and I said, you know what? If once I tell her my age, that's why I said, this it
Okay.
ain't going to be another date,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Mm.
So that's what I was thinking, and but we steady had we continued having great conversations through over the meal, and I was very impressed because the conversation she came out to be more mature than I expected.
Mhm.
And the conversations was just unbelievable. Um, and time flies, right? When you're having good time, and that was in my mind. I wanted to go out on a date with her, but I'm not sure if she wanted to with
Gotcha.
me.
Gotcha.
So because of my little ego, I didn't want to ask her out right then because
Mhm.
I didn't want her to say, "Well, you know what, this was great, but no, thank you." You know how men are, man. We don't take rejection very well. So I walked her to her car and
Hmm.
gave her a hug and
Okay, you got a
and
hug.
just
Okay.
said goodbye. And then I followed up with another phone call, and we talked over the phone a few times, and then I asked her out again.
So
So
Elizabeth, what were you thinking now that he's told you his age, he's shown you his driver's license? What are your thoughts on about that at that point?
When he told me his age, I was relieved because in my prior relationship, the male was older. So I'm like, okay, I get some years back here, if we're being honest.
Okay.
yeah,
And then, Julius, at one point during the dinner, he got up to use the restroom, and I texted my friend, and I said I found my husband.
Wow.
I knew certainly that
I love it.
he would be my husband.
Right.
I didn't
That's
share that with him,
right.
but I just knew.
Right. I
Yeah.
love
well,
it.
you shared it with me recently. So
Well,
we
recently.
we we were we were she was going through her phone, and she realized, she says, "Oh man, look at this text message that I sent
Mhm.
to my friend," and the date was on that day, and exactly what she said is like, this is going to be my husband. I was
Wow. I
like,
love
wow,
it. I
that's
love
pretty
it.
impressive.
Our
Yeah.
thought process, when you know, you know.
Yeah.
When you know, you know.
And
And he
two,
knew.
and the other thing is, like we had this saying at the time, like this wasn't a high school musical type of relationship. Like we had been through some things. He had been through a long term relationship. I had been married. So when you got with somebody at that point, we knew that we knew. Like this,
wasn't about the games or
right?
anything like
And we
that.
we even said that we were like, get rid of whoever you were talking to or who was hovering, but you just know. I think you just know. So now, when's the big day?
It's this summer.
Spring.
Is it spring?
It is spring.
Okay.
Sound like us.
It's-
Congratulations,
yeah.
It's in 4 months.
Right.
Write us down to the wedding or something, or at least a hangout at some point. Not the wedding. I know weddings are expensive, but what advice would you all give to people who are looking for love or looking for just? I know, Elizabeth, you said something earlier. You said you believe that men should pursue, and I totally feel you. I think women in general, I shouldn't say some, but some women are more comfortable with. Say what now?
Disagree with that.
What's speak? You speak. What you disagree with?
Women should pursue more. We tired.
Yeah.
We tired.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that
Listen.
mean?
Because you said before, like a lot of times men, we don't pay attention to things. So in their case, they saw each other and they connected. But a lot of times a woman may see a man like, oh my God, I want to meet him. And they may miss out on their future. Because, oh no, I'm not going to do that. That's not traditional. You're not supposed to approach a man. He's going to think I'm fast. And it's like, come on.
You're letting the pressure off. I know you said that before. It lets pressure off of the man to let him know, like, I'll pursue you, but you got to let me know that you're interested at least.
Right. Meet me halfway or sometimes.
So what would you say to women out there who are still in that, because we're old-fashioned, we have those old-fashioned tendencies that I don't feel comfortable doing that. What's the suggested way? Like what Elizabeth did?
Yeah, that was real cool.
I like
it
that.
was real smooth. Like, hey, I'm leave my number. That way, if I don't have to pick my face up off the floor if he says no or he has somebody. You can keep it moving. But
I like
I
that.
think that women today, especially today, should be a little more aggressive. Like, what you waiting for?
But so Elizabeth, I was on your Instagram and I was reading some of the comments, and then there was one story where a woman said, well, I did that before, her friend did that, and then come to find out this guy had he was like, okay, come on, let's go. But he had a whole other like relationship on the side, and he just strung her along. So when women hear that, they're like, go back to like, I can't do it, I'm gonna let him pursue me.
And what happened?
So she shot her shot with this guy, and then all of a sudden he had a woman, a full-time woman, and he had her as a side person.
Well, that's kind of her fault.
Well, this is what I would say. I would say do your due diligence, ladies.
Yes.
So Elizabeth, did you do any due diligence? Did you kind of find out anything about Julius to make sure that he was
From who?
I don't know. You go do a deep dive. You go on their LinkedIn. You go on their Instagram, social media. Like I don't know. You figure it out.
What if they don't have?
No,
Go ahead.
I didn't know his last name or anything, so I had to wait for the first date. But he's so forthcoming, and it just felt genuine, everything that he was telling me. So I didn't need due diligence. But just like you all, on that first date, we talked about our previous relationships. He had been married before, and I had a situation. We had some loose ends we needed to tie up, etc. As we moved forward. But you just ask the right questions. Be intentional. If you're going to be out there dating, be intentional. And if you're not going to be intentional, you will be in that type of situations where you're with someone that may have another person at home.
Right.
So if you're asking the right questions and being intentional, you'll get the answers you need to know if you should proceed or not.
Yeah. And it's easier to be straightforward and straight up because as we all know, if you tell lies or stories, it's going to come back. It always does from my experience, right? So when you tell the truth and you just be honest and everything, it is so much more comfortable and relieving, at that time. And you don't have to, worry about, oh my God, I got to remember what I said and all that. I'm beyond all that, right? So it's just, hey, it is what it is. And, but, I didn't date long after meeting Elizabeth. It was cut short with others.
Certainly.
So it was good.
I told him, kind of like you said too, I'm not, if I'm going to proceed in this relationship that we may have in the future, I'm not going to date you in while you're dating other people. So either you get rid of them, and you can have me, or we're just not going to be anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if women do that. I don't know. I don't know if women typically will do that. What they'll say. I think Steve Harvey said his wife kind of did the same thing. He was dating all these other women, and then his current wife now is like, listen, while you're doing all that, I'm done. Like, you have to piss on the pot or get off. So I don't know if women do that or not, but that would be a suggestion that I would say. I want to ask you all. No, I was going to say, just give us some imparting tips. What are you going to say?
No,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you said that, what do you mean when you say that women don't?
I don't know if they do, like, when I say, I don't know if they put their foot down to tell men, listen, I'm not dating around, we're not doing all this, you have her and her and her all over the place.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know that's what I did with you, and it sounds like Elizabeth did that with Julius, but I don't know if women do that. I don't know. If they make demands by saying, I'm not going to be your side joint, like, I'm not doing that. I don't know. But that's what I would suggest. What are some imparting tips that you all have for people, women, men, whoever, to shoot their shot?
Just do it. If you see someone you're interested in, do it. You just never know. I don't think that we got lucky. I think that everybody can have this type of love story, like you and your husband, like Julius and I. Just do it. Take the initiative.
Yeah.
So in speaking to some people about, like, coming on to, tonight and what the topic was, why do you think there is a hindrance with people who, don't believe that this type of love, that's why I was like, I want us to come on and talk, but I was like, I need some backup here. I need other people to show that this is real. Like, people think, again, that he's not even real because he doesn't get on social media like that. But what are some tips that you would say for people to kind of clean up their mess so that when the right person does come along, they're ready for that, ready for love? And that's for
You said a mouthful, clean up your mess. I think you too have to be ready as an individual. So if you're in a phase in your life where you're not accepting of love or you can't give it, then it's not going to be the time. So you may meet someone and may feel like, oh, this can never be a positive situation for me because you're not ready at that point in time. So you'll get it when you're ready.
Yeah, I agree. I had since, she mentioned a divorce, I had years of being single and, trying to relive the 20s and, 20-year-old ages. That just wasn't me anymore. Plus with my work and I am a active father. So I have my um, teenagers with me. My daughter's now in college, but they were living with me 90% of the time. So I still had responsibilities and things like that. So I wasn't out and about. And I was ready. I went out, dated around, and I was just ready to settle. And it was perfect timing.
The other thing I'll ask, and I'll leave a question for you, is what do you say, and this could be for either one of you as well, but what do you say for people who are looking for that perfect? Because you see your story on Instagram, for example, and people don't get to see all the fray of behind the scenes, but what do you think people see this Instagram love story and think that you all have the perfect love story? But what do you say to people who are looking for perfect love?
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing, of course, but what do you say to people who they have this laundry list of things that they want in a mate that may not exist?
Well, I mean, I think we were talking about it earlier, and you said that someone that you spoke with or you knew something in passing said that they had a list of what they wanted as far as a mate went, as far as a man went, and one of the things you said was he had to be a certain height and I guess look a certain way and have a six-pack or whatever, and that's not unrealistic. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have expectations. However, make sure you have and are doing the same things that you're asking of that person. Don't that goes for as men. A lot of us have a tendency to be big and out of shape, and then we want this video vixen on our arm, and
That's what you have. Yeah, that's what I am.
being unreal. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know you're. I think the expectations, like with people, you have to be realistic. Not saying that you shouldn't have things that you want in a person, but at the same time, you're saying you want a guy who's, 6'2" and shredded, but he might be 5'10" and a little out of shape, but he still might be a great person. You know what I mean? So, but when they don't meet that expectation, you say, oh, no, I don't want that person. He's too short. And it's like, well, give him a chance. You never know.
But some women will feel that, and I don't know if men feel this way, but I know I've spoken to a lot of women who feel like I'm not settling.
Well,
I want what I want.
Well, you got to consider the source when you say settling, like
Yeah.
by yourself.
Oh, God.
You're settling by yourself. So, I mean, and I'm not saying go out, and again, I'm not saying go out and settle for anything or anybody. I'm not saying that. I'm just simply saying, like, hey, you got to be realistic, because none of us are perfect. And our relationships aren't perfect, and I think with social media, a lot of times it gets portrayed like situations are, and people, they look, it's this fantasy, like, oh, what do they call it? Relationship goals. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, it's not real. Like, a lot of times, people, because nobody's life is perfect. And I think that can be a problem for a lot of people. They're unrealistic about a lot of things.
10-4, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for coming on to Table Talk with Tosh and sharing your story with us and hopefully millions of other people out there who, we want to just give people hope that real love is out there. But as the hubster stated, there's no such thing as perfect love. There's no such thing as, you say real, relationship goals. I think when people say that, they're saying, I want a relationship. Now, they don't know what goes on in that relationship, or they don't know the sacrifices or the things that you, like when you met before, you didn't have children. So you were saying you didn't want a woman who had children necessarily.
Well, I was old. I was at a point in my life where I was like, I didn't want kids because I was in my late 30s.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I-
now we got 3. Lord, I didn't plan for that last one, but but he's a blessing. He always says now his brother and sister says like, oh, well, I was an accident, and I'm like, you're not an accident. We love you all the same.
No, there's no accident.
But yes, but thank you both for coming on. We really appreciate you, and we'll be following your love story, and we look forward to the wedding pictures and just the beautiful love story that you will continue to create.
It was our pleasure. Thank you. All right.
All right, so that is it for this week's episode of Table Talk with Tosh and the Hubster.
Yep.
And I appreciate you for coming on. Not sure what the cadence will be for these, but I do have the next segment in mind. I want to bring on, I have Cuz here who talked about, she said, work on past trauma. Where's she at? I saw her.
Shouldn't you, well, if the people are demanding you to come back, shouldn't you come back?
Yes, but I have a little bit things going on here.
Yeah.
Trying to stand up well, not trying to, but we're stand up. We stood up our nonprofit, Community Circle of Wellness. Yay! And so we got things going on, but I think in about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe, who knows, maybe sooner, who knows. But somebody once talked about trauma, so I do have a guest lined up who will be coming on talking about the trauma that she's endured. And I met her last week at the vision board party that I attended, and she was talking about how she lost her brother and her sister to gun violence. And I'm thinking, how are you standing up here doing these amazing things? So I want to have her come on and talk about trauma, because unfortunately life will life in good or bad, and she's learned to push through somehow. So I would love to come on. And she's a young lady. I say people are young, everybody looks young to me, but I definitely want her to come on the show. And I met an author who I want her to come on. So it's just so many people out here doing some amazing things, and I think that we can all learn from them. So we will be coming back. Well, you're not coming back next time, right? Or do you want to come back? Did you like this?
Damn.
No, do you want to? I don't want to force you.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I think he got the podcast bug. It might be Table Talk with Tosh and the Hubster.
We'll see.
We'll see. But thank you all for tuning in. You know I love all of you.
Give the people what they want.
I got to get the people what they want. But I love all of you. Appreciate you for the support. And we will be back soon. I won't give you a date with Table Talk with Tosh and possibly the Hubster.
Odabo people.
What? You gonna learn the new word?
Swahili.
This person. But yeah, give a shout out again. I saw Cuz was watching. Give a shout out to people who are just tuning in about your shirt.
Oh, that is. Let me go back here real quick. I want to make sure I get it right.
Well, while he's doing that,
little cause it's Big Money Moves.
Big Money
dot
Moves.
US.
.us. That's his
If
cousin.
you Google search is Big Money Moves Clothing.
And he's a college kid at Morgan.
Support that young brother, man.
Doing his thing, and I have on Principal L shirt. I choose to stay because he is a phenomenal principal in Wilmington, Delaware, and his whole mantra is I choose to stay. He could be anywhere in the world teaching. He's that guy. A lot of people know Principal L, but I decided to rock his shirt tonight, his hoodie, because he chooses to stay, and I want to support him doing that. So a lot of his, I think, I can't tell you the percentage, but the proceeds go toward the children. He has a chess club, so why not rock his stuff versus the blouse I was going to wear? So I thank you for, putting me on.
I do.
That's what you do.
I inspire.
You do. And I love this man. He's my man, 50 grand. Somebody inboxed me today, was like, I love you have a beautiful mind, and you can tell your husband, I'm not trying to flirt. And I didn't even take it that way, but.
Wait a minute, who was this?
He was like, you can screenshot it. And I didn't even take it that way, because at the end of the day, there is not a man on this planet that can sway me away from him, because he is it. So he really is. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
Baby daddy.
All that.
Business partner.
Everything.
Pain in the butt sometimes.
It goes both ways.
And people think he's so quiet, but that is funny. You are not quiet.
I'm very reserved.
But then when I'm trying to fall asleep, there you go. I'm talking a hole in my ear. He is not quiet. Whoever thought he was quiet, not. But no, he is a good guy, good man, good role model to our children, listener, supporter to me. So thank you for always supporting my antics.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you next time on Table Talk with Tosh. And
shout out to the producer.
Yes, Tosh. Her name is, because that's a great name. Her name is Tosh. She's funny.
Yeah,
so if you are thinking of your own podcast, come check her studio out. It's amazing. She's amazing.
She's a beast.
And follow. Where can is Tosh Little Queen on Instagram? I was like, she is the bomb. Yeah. She got it going on.
This is nice, people. Please.
And then shout out to Rebirth too, because that's how I learned of her. But Rebirth is another show that comes on here, and she was telling me that you have you could be found on Prime Video. You're an actress. I was like, okay. That's what I'm talking about. So check her out. Google her, Tosh Lil Queen on Instagram. Follow her. Follow me, Table Talk with Tosh on Instagram. I got to get better with that. But we will see you out. Where can they follow you on your social medias?
You just followed me.
He doesn't do social media.
You gonna do.
All right, people. We love you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We'll see you later. Deuces.
We out.
Drop the mic.